That's fine.
Yes, there is, yes. It's just a recording. Okay.
I'm hoping we've got some sound now.
I'll check.
Thank you very much. Just let you settle down. Settle down.
Yes. Yeah, sounds like.
Thank you. Apologies for the technical. Thank you.
I'm sorry, before we start, do you think these members might have gone to another room in the building, or is that locked?
That's locked, and the caretaker is here.
So, yeah, it's just I didn't want them to be
Yeah.
sitting in another room and not knowing that we're in here. So that's fine. Thank you very much, that town clerk. That's excellent. That. So item number 2 on the agenda is apologies for absence received. Do we have any apologies, town clerk?
Councillor Mallow.
Councillor Mallow, thank you very much. And item number 3 is declarations of interest. And this is to receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members of this committee in respect of the business that will be transacted on the agenda tonight. Do we have any declarations of interest?
No.
No for that, thank you. Item number 4 is co-option, and this is for members to receive a verbal report from the town clerk of the recommendation that the Monkswell warden is co-opted to the Monkswell Nature Reserve Committee, and we will be requiring a decision on this matter. Over to you, town clerk.
Thank you. Yes, just to say that obviously Ken's valuable contributions, and I have to say, since I've been the town clerk, it's been a pleasure to meet you and work with you on this few occasions that we have. But I think he's got valuable contribution. Obviously, he's very key to this committee. Thank you.
I'm just going to say, Chair, that we do have those other co-optees, Andrew Lucy, Chief Veteran Advisors, and we do have someone from Kidney's Estate, the land agents as well. They do reports to help Ken, otherwise it's a lot of work for Ken.
That's right, yeah, indeed, yeah, of course, yeah. And
We haven't had a meeting for 3 years, I don't know.
No, that's right. And they can be added as and when required, I believe. So, okay, so we've had a nomination. All those in favour of Ken being on co-opted on the committee, please show.
Yep. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. Officially nominated onto the committee.
To get you to go, otherwise.
Exactly. Item number 5 is public participation, and this is a 20-minute session is set aside for members of the public to make representations at the meeting in respect of the business on the agenda this evening. Individual representation should not exceed 5 minutes. Written notice of the desire to exercise the right to speak, together with the topic to be addressed, must be given to the town clerk prior to noon on the day of the meeting. Do we have any public participation?
No requests.
No requests. Thank you very much. That might be you. Item number 6 is something I've asked for, and this is financial position for Monkswell Nature Reserve, and for members to receive a report from the RFO that details the current financial position, including earmarked reserves for the Monkswell Nature Reserve. And this is attachment number 1, and this is really just to give an overview of where we are with this situation currently. I've lost my
It's quite helpful at the moment, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Can I ask a question? The original some scoping work done, was it a new lagoon?
Yes.
Was great. Yeah. Is there?
It's been done.
It's been done.
It's part of my report.
Yeah, because it's well, because the town council did that, do it and then
Yes.
pay up front and then pay back off.
Yes.
Chair, do you want to speak
I
about
think
that?
please do.
Would you like to give a short update on where we are? So
Yeah.
sorry, obviously you have
sorry,
you have a report item 7.
Yeah, before we go into that, just on the finances.
Indeed, that's what we're discussing
Yeah,
presently.
So within STC, we're aware that a £20,000 loan was taken by STC on previous administration, and we've agreed how we're going to pay that back. I just wanted to see how that's reflected in here. Is it an additional amount? Is it subsumed within these figures? Because this is so high level, I don't know whether that's an additional amount to come through as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'd have to find out about that. But obviously, there was the arrangement that was agreed that instead of paying it back as a one lump sum, that it would be paid back £5,000 each year. So, but that is a very good question.
Yeah. So the point is whether this is the overall true figure, or whether it's an additional 20,000 over the next 4 years to add in.
I think that's the money in the bank, isn't it? That's the money in the bank.
I should imagine it.
Well, there's account.
Yeah, in the account there. So, and that would be obviously £5,000 each year per annum to increase on that. So, but as is said, it is currently in a very healthy situation, which is good to know. So, did you have an update on the finances in particular? Because I've got item number 7 is a report from yourself.
Yeah. It might be better. It might be more convenient to wait until
Item number 7.
item number 7. That's
perfect.
That's excellent there. So I'm just asking you to note the financial position of the Monkswell Nature Reserve currently, and if of course there was any concerns or questions, anybody can raise those at this present time about finances. If there's not any questions, I'll move on.
Sorry, apologies, Ken. It's just testing your knowledge. So I think when we did the walk around myself and Linda you talked about the funding you get. Yes. Is my recollection right that that is a tapered funding, that it will reduce over time, or yes?
Yeah. Okay.
And now coming to reports, that's fine.
Talk about that now, actually. Okay. Yeah. Basically, the reserve gets funding from 2 government funding streams through the Rural Payments Agency. One of them is called the Basic Payments Scheme, and that produces about £5,400 a year for Monkswell. And it's based on the area of the land and the fact that it's being managed for wildlife. That is the one that is tapering off. I believe it's going down by something like 50% annually. The idea behind it that it is going to be replaced by another. I mean, that was European money, so that's fading away. It's being replaced by a homegrown source of funding, which was originally called the ELMS system. But they're very good on acronyms.
I have heard of that.
The Environmental Land Management Scheme. But before that's even been put into place, they apparently have actually started spending, before they've even started spending the money, they've now replaced that with another acronym called the Sustainable Farming Initiative, SFI. So the basic payment scheme is fading down. It's going to be replaced by homegrown funding, but rumour has it that the amount won't be anything like the same as the basic payment scheme. That's the first amount of money that Monkswell gets every year, and has done for a good number of years. The other one is called the Stewardship Scheme, Countryside Stewardship Scheme, and we claim the higher level or higher tier stewardship scheme. It was renewed a couple of years ago at the advice of Mark Chandler. There was an opportunity to renew it. So the current scheme runs until the end of December 26. And that generates about 3,200 a year. So over the whole of that 5-year period from 2022 to 2026, it will be something over 16,000. And then more recently, and this perhaps covers Councillor Franklin's point as well, last autumn we well, in fact, the application was put in 2 years ago. The payments agency announced that there was money available for capital works. It's a one-off payment, as opposed to this year-by-year stuff. A bid was put in by, well, myself and Mark Chandler, and the RPA awarded us 38,560 to do basically excavating a scrape, large shallow lake out in the middle of the reserve, and also to do some ditch clearance work. The actual cost of the work came to 14,000, or slightly over 14,000. And I just assumed that we would, that's all that we would get, but I'm informed by a contact by Natural England that no, if the agency had said they're going to give us 38,560, that's what we're going to get. So the difference is something in excess of 24,000, which will come into the funds. Mark Chandler, acting on behalf of the Town Council, submitted the claim in January, just on last month. So we're waiting to hopefully for that to appear in the council's budget. It does mean, of course, that we've got an extra in excess of 24,000 to do with as we wish.
Yes. So I suppose, yes, I suppose that's really, it looks very rosy for now.
Yeah.
But I'm picking up on a couple of points about tapering off and coming to an end. Is there something maybe medium term that we need to sort of plan for in terms of incomes, or are you confident that the levels that we've got projected into the future are healthy enough in terms of sustainability?
Well, my own view is that the amount of money that's available is certainly comfortable at the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we go further into the future, I mean, one of the things will be this, what exactly the amount is going to be from the sustainable farming initiative. What used to be the basic payments.
Yeah.
Because that used to produce 5,400 a year.
Yes.
It's going to be less than that, but we don't know how less. And no one knows. The government hasn't announced yet what the rates are going to be. The stewardship scheme will finish in 26. And there's no, I don't think there's any suggestion as to what that's going to be replaced by. I think what they'll do is they'll merge the old basic payment scheme and the higher level stewardship scheme into one new fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, on the strength of what I thought was quite a comfortable financial position at the moment, I have in my report
Yes.
some ideas as to how we could spend some of it. More of that in a moment.
Exactly. Thank you very much for that. So it's good to know that currently that the Monkswell Nature Reserve is in a reasonable position financially, so it settles out. No decision was required.
No.
Just no. Item number 7 is a report from the Monkswell Nature Reserve Warden. Members of the committee are to receive a report from the Monkswell Nature Reserve Warden that spans the period from September 2023 to mid-January 2024. Members are invited to receive the report and consider the Warden's recommendations for actions and activities for 2024, and to form recommendations to the Council, and we will require a decision on this. This is attachment number 2. Over to you, Ken.
Okay.
As you're ready.
This is quite a lengthy report, so I don't know. I don't propose to read all the way through it. I think people will lose the will to live. But I'll try and pick out some of the main points. This is much the same format as I always used to report to this committee prior to in former days. So I've made a number of regular visits between September and mid-January, and the figures are there. And then the main management work which has taken place is just to confirm that this capital works did take place largely in September and October of last year. I spent quite a number of days standing out there with bulldozers and diggers trunking by. The firm of contractors is a new one. We've not had dealings with them in the past. I mean, it was put out to tender, obviously, and the firm got the quote and MRF contracting virtually, and they did, I have to say, based on record, they did an excellent job. They were very conscientious and very cooperative as well. So anyway, we excavated a scrape, a shallow lake of about a hectare. We tidied up a lot of the ditches that needed dredging and desilting. Those are the two main bits of work. And then at the same time, a different contractor, Rhino, was asked to come in and bulldoze invading hawthorn and bramble from another part of the reserve. The reserve is so big that you can't really do it with volunteer working groups. We have to have contractors to come in, particularly as there have been not much had happened on the management front in the last several years because of COVID and all the rest of it. So the bulldozers came in and levelled loads and loads of invading hawthorn and bramble. And the reason we had to do that is because it was invading an area of rough pasture land, which we get RPA money for. If we didn't clear that, the RPA money would cease. So it's a case, we get paid in order to maintain the bulk of the reserve as what's called the lowland wetland grass area. So if you're allowed to go to turn into scrub and hawthorn, then you can't claim the money. You can claim from another fund for hawthorn and scrub, but it's not as much. Yeah, we had a useful meeting in November with the Environment Agency, which I think the town clerk will talk about later. Since then, the Environment Agency has been on site and most of the winter doing the first part of the work they plan to do. The Environment Agency retained responsibility, without stealing any Jill's thunder. The Retirement Agency retained responsibility and oversight of the riverbank and the Monks Wall embankment. And their rule trumps everything, basically. As it should do, because they see the Monks Wall area as a flood protection device to stop it. In the event of the storm surge, the plan is that the water would pour into Monks Wall rather than down Strand Street. Through the door here. So they retain that responsibility. But we had I thought was very positive and interesting meeting with a couple of their senior managers back in November. I go out there and check the water levels, and with the onset of winter, I'm able to raise the water level across most of the reserve just by operating a sluice. So I did that. Vandalism, virtually none. We have an occasional bit of graffiti, but it's very intermittent, and I always clean it immediately. Pick out one of the other points. We probably do need to look at the management plan because it was last revised in 2017-18 and probably could be revised usefully. Use of the fire, no health and safety issues to report. Visitors to the reserve, steady but light use, I think is probably the best way to describe it. It doesn't get coarse of people there. One of the problems in the winter is that one section, there is a circular walk, which is signposted and mapped. But there is one section of that walk which gets extremely wet and boggy, and unless you've got wetlands, you won't be able to do the circular walk. It's the councillors have got their map. It's a section at the base of the A256 embankment. it can be easily put right, but at the minute you can't get through there in the winter when the water level is high. The area is covered by a PSPO to stop the walking of dogs, and by and large that is observed, but we do have one individual who I think lives at the Sandwich Marina, and he persistently climbs over the gate from the marina with his dog and walks along the riverbank. I've challenged him in the past, and other people that go to the reserve have also challenged him, and he totally ignores the challenge. He is in theory, well, he's not in theory, practice, in breach of PSPO by taking his dogs onto that land.
But on the leash, running free. You let them off the leash?
Yeah, they're running free. Yeah. Well, it's one dog. And the first time I spoke to him, he listened and was very sort of, oh yes, I understand that, I won't bring the dog back again. But, yeah. And I believe, Jill, I don't know whether you ever did write to the marina.
That's on my list of actions, Ken. I've just written it down. You just reminded me, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, he's climbing over basically a 7 or 8 foot high fence with barbed wire over the top of it.
Yeah.
And it's got a wire mesh gate across, but there's a gap. I went and checked a week or so ago, how is he doing it? And there's a gap between where the gate fits into the fence. He's clearly climbing up and then jumping through the gap, presumably heaving his dog over. And it's annoying because it means that, you get, I mean, there are ground nesting birds, there are various mammals that live in the grass. We don't want dog poo all over the place. No. And perhaps most important of all, in the summer, there is a herd of pedigree cattle grazing out there. And a dog off the lead would be easy for it.
The farmer, could he shoot the dog with his house and his cattle?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is the law that a farmer is legally entitled to take measures. Yeah. Whether Roger can ever would, well, I think he would if he saw the dog. Chasing one of his pedigree Sussex. Reserve volunteering, we don't have a working group or a group of volunteers as such, but there are a couple of people who regularly walk around and they always submit records of birds and other wildlife observations and things to do with the management, whatever, is very helpful. Just some brief stuff on the wildlife this winter. Well, it's been pleasing, having gone through all the lengths and trouble of putting this bid together and getting the money from the Rural Payments Agency to build this scrape. But it has an immediate beneficial effect. Some bird population has gone up by 100%. Particularly, there's a duck called teal, which spends the winter here. It breeds in Russia and Northern Europe. And the numbers on that scrape area have doubled this winter compared to previous winters. And there are lots of other things that are also on the increase as well. And then we'll wait and see what the effect is going to be in the springtime in terms of breeding birds. The beavers that live at Gaze and Swords, I've yet to see them on the Monksmoor side, but they certainly do go across there because you can see the trails up through the reeds that lie on the riverbank. So they're swimming across the river from Gaze and Swords and climbing up onto Monksmoor, and I've yet to see them. And then the last part of my report is basically just some suggestions as to how we could spend some of the money. With some indicative costings. I mean, my main interest, to be honest, is that having seen the success of this scrape that has gone in this September, is put another one in. On nearer the main car park. But of course, this time it would have to be paid for, not by the Royal Payments Agency. It would have to come out of the money that's in the kitty. The sort of area I'm looking at, if folk have got their maps handy, the existing street, or the new one, lies to the south of that number 3. This map, by the way, is all of the reserve, and it's divided, for management purposes, you divide nature reserves into what are called compartments. Because each compartment will manage differently depending on exactly what outcomes you want to achieve. So the compartment we're looking at is the major part of the reserve, which is area 3. The existing strait that was excavated in September lies just south, in other words, just down from the number 3, on both sides of that long ditch. You can see running across the middle of the reserve from the number 3. My ambition would be, if you go up from the number 3 towards the top of the photograph, you'll see a windy ditch that ends in a pond. What would be nice would be to put a larger strait where that pond is, and roughly in that area there, and then build a high next to it, along the footpath that runs along the bottom of that embankment. That would put a large lake and a new public high within a couple of 100 metres of the main car park. So that it would allow people who have perhaps more limited mobility, who can't do the walk all the way round, at least to be able to park their car, walk along fairly flat ground to a bird hide, and overlook a new facility there, a shallow lake with some islands for birds to nest on, and so on and so forth. And the other neat thing would be that the high would face in such a direction that in the afternoon and evening the sun would be behind you, so you'd have the light going out onto where people are looking. I estimate, based on the cost of the spray we had done last September, I estimate this might cost about £8,000, depending on exactly the estimates and whatever from different people. Bird hide, perhaps 15,000. And we'll have to get some quotes in. There are very few people who actually know how to build bird hides. It's quite a specialist sort of thing to do. Having said that, Eagle Sheds, I've had a quote from them in the past, not for this reserve, but for something we were doing at Sandy Bay Bird Observatory. But eventually we went to a specialist firm up in Lincolnshire. But I would think that for a small hide, I mean, these are very much guesstimates. I've not put figures out on these because I wouldn't obviously it's councillors' decision to give the go ahead or not, as the case may be. The footpath along the bottom of the A256 there, along that embankment, needs raising. It's impassable. It's impassable. I've also, in compartment 1, right up at the top of the photograph, this is an odd little area that no one goes into, mostly because it's impenetrable. But there is actually a footpath that goes around most of it. And if you could put a circular path all the way around, that would make it an extension to the reserve for people to go into a different sort of area.
It's part of the old railway embankment.
It is indeed, yeah.
There was talk a few years ago about straightening that more vertical for sand martins.
Yeah,
that'll be a thing in years to come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the bit at the top there, where it goes into obviously an obvious farmer's field there. Just there. That curve there is the line of the old railway line that ran, well, right actually to Ridgeway Court.
Yeah.
So there is actually an embankment there, but it's all in close ground. Smaller things, but nonetheless useful. Quite a number of the gateways around the reserve need raising. The cattle churn them up, and yeah. And so a lot of the internal field gates need building up with some hardcore standard farming practice, really. The fences need checking around the reserve in places. The main car park could do with an upgrade with some more hardcore. And then completely separate from the management side of things, and I think it's long overdue that the reserve is publicised. Link from the Town Council website. I mean, that is very old.
Yes, everybody wants that stuff.
But that's the sort of thing that you can easily do. And it wouldn't cost that much, really.
That car park would be better to have like chickens, but if we could get Kent County Council to put a load of chickens in there for us. You know, do the road for not the place, but a load of the actual road, but I think you could use it. That's the sort of thing that.
What, you mean wood chickens?
No, when they do the tarmac.
Oh, yeah.
They, that milling machine, don't they? They chip it all up.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible that both for the car park and for the raising of that footpath, that we might prevail upon the environment agency to, I mean, I don't know, but it's worth a try.
Oh, yeah.
They've got loads of money. But they certainly use that car park, and they certainly use that track or footpath that goes down there in order that they can get to their riverbank. And if we said to them, well, why don't you pay for upgrading the car park and that path, as a suggestion of goodwill?
Yeah, they contract you, but some of them are seaboard, don't they?
Yeah.
They use it as well, they're big trucks and tractors.
That's right.
To blame them.
Yeah.
Nice if they help though, wouldn't they? They do it.
The Environment Agency, they are very concerned about the riverbank, and they don't want cars driving on it, which was a bit of a blow at the time. Yeah. So, I mean, if we did all of the things I have suggested, it would come to something over 30,000. But that's very much a wild guess. It maybe it could be less than that.
Oh, excellent.
So, Ken, first of all, thanks. Brilliantly informative report. Really well presented, so thank you for that. I just wanted to touch a bit on the publicising and the, which I think you talked to us about, myself and Lee and Mark, when we went around, was about, you'd like to encourage more visitors. So I had at least one idea, but certainly looking at publicising it. We've got a Facebook page. We've also got a number of councillors who do share stuff across Facebook. When we did our walk around with Weekend, which was really good, it was interesting. We got a really good reaction across a number of Facebook pages, but also a number of people who said, I didn't really know about it, who are local residents. So I think there's definitely something to tap into. And one of the ideas I had is that we may want to look at doing something like once a month in the summer months, a Sandwich Town Council guided walk. And that in itself becomes a publicity vehicle for people who would come up under their own guises. It also engages the council in an asset it owns. So I just wondered if we could explore that as a possibility, Ken, and either guided by the expert or even by lesser mortals, like even councillors themselves could. I'm not thinking you lean personally, I'm looking at myself in reflection, but I'm sure there's a number of councillors that would like to get, because I think it's a good asset, and I just think it's just not known about enough. We don't want thousands of people going, but in a managed manner, it would be really good just to promote it as a town council asset and get people engaged in it.
How many months a year is it closed for the nesting season?
It's not closed at all.
They usually work on it, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about nesting season, because obviously, as you said, we want people to use it, we want people to use it sensibly.
Yeah, sympathetically. So
Either escorted or if there was some form of instructions to people.
Because the waymarked footpath is where it is, there's like a circular walk you can do all the way around, which is the walk that you did, which doesn't actually impinge on the main central part of the reserve at all. I mean, the central part of the reserve, area compartment through, is off limits in the summer anyway, A, because it's got the livestock out there, and B, that's where there will be nesting water birds.
yeah,
And also, we don't want people wandering around alongside these ditches and now a hectare of scrape.
Exactly.
And the same is true for area 4 along the Monks Way Road. That is grazed and that is off limits as well. But you can see virtually all of the main part of the reserve by just gently happening around the circular walk.
So I think we've probably got 3 or 4 months to explore and develop an idea. And it's not really difficult to advertise. It can be done on Facebook. You don't want 50 people turning up. If 10 people turned up and enjoyed a morning's walk around such a great place, then I think that's a success. Because this, as you say, is quite old. I looked at it and I think actually it's a good piece of material. The issue is any leaflet gets, yes, exactly. It gets subsumed with other leaflets. And as an example, if you put this outside, because people don't know about the reserve, I don't think many people would even pick it up as, oh, I must look at that. And so it's getting the marketing right, as opposed to thinking, well, people always did leaflets, so we do leaflets again. So it's developing the right strategy for the reserve.
Perhaps you might be interested to hear that I did put Monks Hall Nature Reserve on Google Earth.
Did you?
And got it on there.
Great.
And about 2 weeks ago, I got a message from Google Earth saying thank you for 80,000 people have now logged that name.
There you go. And so
I
that's,
thought, well, I must have missed those 80,000. Yeah, I wasn't there on that day. I mean, lots of people, look at things without obviously.
Semi-paper, you have a chalkboard and what's spotted with that day. Do you think that perhaps we could do something on like a spotting page, what nesting and what's passing? A lot of the birds come through a migratory and they're here for a few days. I remember the pair of poppies once, and I thought, oh, now they've gone. Good, I missed them. And also, did you get much predation from foxes? I know we have to with the fox on a vixen and a cub. I mean, I think they killed the swan one time.
Yeah, well, two things. I mean, in terms of publicising the wildlife reserve, passing birds or breeding birds, there used to be a whiteboard in one of the bird hives that was taken down some time ago because it got graffiti. It seems to me these days the logical place for it would be on some sort of website. That's where people would look up for those things. And the second point about predation, I mean, it is an ongoing issue. There are foxes out there, and there are crows and magpies. And it's the age-old dilemma if you're running a nature reserve. What do you do? Well, you can't.
Oh, can I talk about owls? I saw a beautiful owl there one Saturday morning. You said it was a lonely owl, and he looked his partner, I believe.
Yeah,
We put owl boxes up.
we put 2 or 3 years ago now, we put 2 barn owl nest boxes out there. They were donated by a group that's putting barn owl nest boxes all the way down the South Bank. I think they've been there for 3 years, and certainly 2 out of the 3 years had young successfully raised. I mean, last year the pair raised 4 owlets. Which is nice.
Yes, please do.
Just a couple of things really. One was about a very simple, rather than have the leaflets, it says get a look. How about some nice big posters showing some lovely pictures of the neighbours and some of the wildlife on it? You know, you could have some out here, you could have some various places out, you know, around the town, etc. To catch people's eyes, you know, rather than that. The other thing is, I'm slightly concerned about the gentleman with the dog. Is there nothing we can do? Because apart from anything else, I don't want, I like the story of the dog being shot rather than its owner. You know, that just doesn't seem right at all to me. I don't know that's how to do it. So what can we do to stop this happening?
Well, I've suggested that a letter be written to the management at the marina.
Okay.
Because they must know who's living there. I'm sure that the person concerned is probably on a houseboat on the marina, and he walks the dog early in the morning, as you do. I mean, I'm not a dog owner, but I know that dog owners walk early in the morning and late in the afternoon. And I've personally not seen him myself for ages, but recently I did get a report from one of the two folk who do walk in more regularly. They live closer, and Dee, she reported back to me and said that she'd spoken to the man again, and he just listened in total silence and then just ignored him and saying.
You know where you said you accessed. Can we not board that up or do something to stop the access?
It's tricky because it's not out. I don't think it's our gate. I think it was either put up by the marina, because it marks where the marina ends and the riverbank starts. Having said that, the gate does have an environment agency sign on it on the marina side. So it might be that the environment agency put the thing up, but they won't want to get involved in any issues we have with dog walkers. I did think about putting some more barbed wire to plug the gap. But to do that, you'd actually have to barb wire between the gate post and the gate itself. You'd have to quad barbed wire out too, in which case you couldn't open the gate in case of an emergency. So it is tricky. So, but I think the first thing is to try this business of getting a letter sent to the management of the Marines, pointing out that there is no access to the reserve that way, and we have reason to believe that someone either working or living on the marina is regularly walking their dog along there in an area where dogs are not permitted, and it is covered by law, by public space protection. Public space protection.
The only way you can get that enforced, of course, by law is by a police officer.
So
we'd have to monitor this. Obviously, we can undertake the letter, but if it can continue, we would need a uniformed police officer to come and enforce the bylaws. The other thing that I wanted to raise, actually, at this point, and particularly to do with publicity, I don't know if Councillor Franklin remembers, but it's cropped up 2 or 3 times that there's an initiative for like friendly walkers and friendly cycling. And I remember going to a presentation down at the hotel, which was to do with like a friendly walkers initiative, and it was to get out some leaflets, which would have been national, and to encourage people and say Sandwich was a friendly walkers area, and promote places for walkers to come to. So quite possibly we're missing a trick that a lot of walkers aren't coming to Sandwich thinking, well, what areas are there to walk apart from going down to the beach and that. And perhaps they're completely missing this. If we Sandwich became a friendly walking environment,
I think they generally stick to public footpaths and bridleways, and this isn't registered as a public footpath. Anyway, it's like word of mouth. I mean, there is the Wednesday walkers and other people. It's for us to spread the word among the local people and say it's not a public footpath. The public can go down there.
I have taken escorted walks around the place, including, I can't remember the name of the group, there was a local walking group
Oh, was it?
with about 15 or 20 people. And, you know, they weren't aware of the place, but they said they would certainly go back.
Yeah.
And now they know where it is, and then it's easy to walk around and whatever. I've also taken this study group through the members from the Bird Observatory. And I've also done, you know, a couple of talks, you know, to local community groups. I've got another one lined up for a Birchington WI, I think. Excellent. They wanted me to do a talk about the Monkton Nature Reserve, and I said, it's not Monkton, there is a nature reserve.
There is some.
And I don't know anything about that. I think you mean Monk's Wall. I'll do it. I said, well, that would do.
That's good.
So is it possible to agree an action that either is owned and developed in this group, that this group only meets infrequently, or alternatively we could take it to STC and get a couple of councillors, 3 councillors, to take it away as a project, because I think actually it's not difficult to do.
Yeah.
If you did it over 3 or 4 months, you could easily prepare for it.
Yeah.
We've also got schools around, you know, they may be willing to, wanting to, not willing, it's not dragging them, but it might be something that they might want to tap into as well.
Yeah.
But subject to Ken's time and,
But the shame that walkabout was such a terrible rotten day, because I was going to come and I looked at it.
It was.
No, you're so brave, when you, no, but I do know how people walk quite regularly, but I'm not going this morning.
we did, yeah, we didn't look as good, we didn't look as good as when we started.
But as I say, the items to do with the improvements would have to be taken to full council. So they need to come up on the next full council. And then if you wanted to propose something to go forward,
I'm happy to draft a short report.
if you want to draft something and put that to the town clerk, and then that could perhaps be added to an agenda item for full council, if that's okay.
Sorry, Chair, I just have to point out that if the full council does approve these suggestions, the work would need to be done as last year, at the end of the breeding season, before the winter rain comes.
Yeah.
So you're looking at effectively at September into early October. So if full council were to consider this and then approve, then it will give us a good number of time to get quotes and sign meetings and so on. So,
Have a look, couldn't we, as well?
Yeah. Thank you for that, and thank you very much for your report. That's very kind, very influential, and updated us on what's happening currently there. So thank you very much for that. So that's item number 7. So the decision.
Yes,
You want
please.
to vote on that?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we need to actually vote on the decision for the adopting the Warden's report and for the initiatives, suggested major actions and activities to go forward to council. So all those in favour?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 8 is countryside stewardship and rural payments update. And the town clerk is to share the details of the DEFRA countryside stewardship agreement for the higher tier document, which ends on the 31st of the 12th, 2026. The warden is to share a verbal update on the rural payments in progress or received to date since September 2023, which you may possibly have done already actually. And this is attachment item number 3, so this is information only.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it was just really to share of those of you who are not very familiar with this. Myself wasn't myself until I took this post. So it's just really for everyone to get sight of the agreement document and to observe that the start date was the 1st of the 1st, 2022, and it actually ends 31st of December 2026, as Ken said earlier. And it was just really to share all the details because it is quite interesting and obviously quite technical and involved. And I wouldn't absolutely know all these details, but I'm trusting Ken, obviously very involved in his expertise. So I think, you know, the council should be very happy that Ken's involved, I think.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thanks to the warden for maintaining this week's update. And obviously there will be a necessity probably sometime 2025 to getting this redrafted or submitted, I guess.
Well, with whatever is going to replace
Yeah.
the stewardship schemes, we hopefully will know by then. We don't know now. I mean, the actual documentation, I can't claim any credit for that. The work, the hard graft is done by the real expert, Mark Counter, he's a chartered surveyor. It's him that, does all the number crunching and knows whatever. But the essential thing is that once you've done that, the work that you've done has to be reflected in the reserves management plan, because a lot of the reserve is covered by our commitments to the RCA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only some of the fringe areas that aren't covered by the stewardship agreements. I mean, area 1, 2, and 5, and 4D. Those aren't covered by the stewardship, so we can do much more what we want on there. Whereas the other ones we have to make sure that the management plan ties in with what we've said we're going to do to the RPA to get the money that they give us.
Excellent. That's excellent. Do you have any queries or questions on this document?
No, not yet, no, I've got queries.
Well, I thank the warden and the town clerk for bringing this document forward to us, and look forward to continuing with the works that are specified therein. And then item number 9 is Monk's Wall tidal flood relief area, and the town clerk is to share a verbal report on the implications for the council as landowner following the registration of Monk's Wall tidal flood relief area as a large raised reservoir, and members are to note the report. So I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so this is really just to update the committee, because obviously you haven't met since the election. So this is the implications for the council as landowner, and this is the Environment Agency wrote to the Town Council to advise of this situation. So the registration of Monk's Wall as a large raised reservoir will have an impact on Sandwich Town Council as landowner. There is no change in legal ownership of the embankments, spillways, impounding area or any other structure which will remain owned by the council. All inspections, maintenance and operation of the reservoir will remain responsibility of the Environment Agency. Any work the council or any other third party wishes to undertake on or near the embankments will continue to require permission from the Environment Agency, and that was communicated in detail at the meeting that I attended with the warden. The implications for the Environment Agency, so as part of the registration process, the Environment Agency has taken on the role of reservoir undertaker for Monk's Wall FSR. This means they are responsible for complying with all the regulations within the Reservoirs Act 1975 and any other directions made in accordance with the Act. The Environment Agency fulfils this role for all reservoirs under its control in England, and in accordance with the Reservoirs Act, they have appointed a qualified civil engineer to supervise the reservoir and provide them with advice. This role is known as the supervising engineer. Registration has had little impact on how they maintain the embankments and other structures, or how the site will be managed during an impounding event. The Environment Agency staff will continue to carry out routine activities, which include monthly walkover to check condition of all the assets, 6 monthly formal asset inspection, cut the grass on the spillway embankment every 6 weeks during the summer, cut the grass on the non-spillway embankments 3 times per year, regular testing and operation of outfall flats and penstock, removal of silt from the discharge structure, internal surveys of culverts, topographical surveys of embankments, minor repairs to embankments and structures as required, and commission more significant repairs as required using contractors. And in addition to the above, the Reservoirs Act also requires them to carry out an annual inspection and report by the supervising engineer, and this is usually carried out every 6 months according to Environment Agency policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Town Clerk.
When we went to that meeting, Council, they talked about, will they notify you when they open the sluices up, if there's a thing, then would you have to be there and monitor, or they just come along and open it all up? Because there's also sluices in across 4B, 4C that go into Pfizer's, isn't there?
No,
Are they blocked off now?
they're blocked off.
There's maybe houses going in, that's what I'm saying about it. Maybe those houses going in that area then.
The only sluice that drains the reserve, well, sorry, that's not quite true. There are two sluices. The main one is just up from letter 4D, just to the left of 4D, and that is the main sluice. That bit there.
Yeah.
And that drains directly into the River Stour. And then there is another sluice which is down to the left, to the right of 4D, down towards the marina. And it's where it's just there. And it was interesting because when I raised that at this meeting, the Environment Agency denied any knowledge of it.
Yeah, yes, I was saying,
Said nothing to do with us, mate, or words to that effect. But that one also drains the land. But that sluice actually drains all of area 4A, 4B, and 4C. So there are ditches alongside all of that banana-shaped bit of land, and then the water drains down that ditch there out into the river. And it's one of these one-way sluices, where the gates open according to the tide.
so we don't get any sort of water from that area there?
No water comes from Pfizer's onto the surface. So I don't know where, I mean, Pfizer's must drain the other way,
Yeah.
into the River Stour up there.
You can see sort of gates, if you walk along there, you can.
Yeah, there are, sorry, there are some, on the Monk's Ward embankment, there are some sluices.
Yeah.
And the idea behind that is that, in theory, water could drain out of compartment 4 into 3 into the river.
Yeah.
But I keep the water level in compartment 3 so high that the gates never get a chance to.
Oh, that's all right.
Never get a chance to drain that way.
No.
I mean, just as a sort of comment on that meeting, the news came through from the Environment Agency that they wanted to know about the stuff that Town Clerk had just read out. The very week that I was stood out in the middle of compartment 3 with bulldozers and diggers crisscrossing in front of me. And to say I was a bit nervous was put it mildly, because I thought, because we hadn't formally consulted the Environment Agency about doing the screening. I had an informal conversation some years ago with one of the agency managers and said, oh, there's no problem. And so it actually turned out in the meeting we had in November, the agency, 2 area managers there, including Ian Nunn, who's the senior manager. He said, what you do, I thought what the town council does on the land is nothing to do with us, we're not interested. He said if you bulldoze holes everywhere, all you're doing is moving the earth from one place to another, but you're not changing what they call the volumetric. In other words, the amount of space for flood water to pour into in the event of storms, it will be the same. You're just in a different place. So they're not interested in whatever we do inside the reserve, like create screening. They are very interested, as you would gather from the media, as we do Town Public, but they are very interested in anything to do on the embankments. They don't want any, they said that the 3 life buoy stations we put in, they said, if we've got to ask you to take them out, but if you were to apply to put them in now, we would have to refuse. Same goes to the bird hunters. They don't want any constructions on the embankment at all because they think it will weaken the plastic membrane. And then just lastly, what's the other one I was going to make? Oh yes, they have actually started doing some of their work there's a long hedgerow that runs all the way along the riverbank round that part of the thing. And they said they were going to do it, and they have started doing it. They've gone in there and they've thinned out the hedge. And the idea is that because it was all scrubby and dense, a dense hedge, that in the event of a storm surge, this would impede the flow of water from the river onto the fields. And they've now cleared all of that out, which so looks very different. You can actually see through the hedge now into the fields. One slight flying diamond is that we actually claim from the Rural Pavements Agency for that hedge. And we know, because the Environment Agency have cleared, they've not cleared the hedge, they've cleared all the scrubby bits and they've left tree trunks. But technically, I think we can no longer claim for that hedge because it doesn't meet the criteria that we, it's about 290 odd quid. So I think we can look at that. I think there are one or two things that we probably need to contact Vice Chancellor about, so that we can contact the Rural Pavements Agency. Because as well as the hedgerow, we've now lost a hectare of meadowland is now underwater. And so we're going to have to reduce the claim we make for the actual field area. Rather than have the environment and the Rural Pavements Agency find out later. And you as chair will be thrown into the tower.
Exactly.
Or Councillor Lando, but that's
Indeed.
better to tell the Rural Pavements Agency in advance. And then they'll just make an adjustment into how much money we get.
And those are the two areas, because to flag those up, because obviously I could instruct the town clerk to contact Mark Chandler.
Yeah, I think it might be good.
So we need a letter to Mark Chandler. Is he still with Finns?
Yes, he's based just across the road.
That's it, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
And just highlights in those two areas.
And if the full council were to approve the excavation of another scrape up there, of course, the same would apply, of course.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, for the explanations and the presentations tonight from both the town clerk and the warden. I'm very grateful to you both for all the work you've put in on this. And it looks like it's a very healthy and successful area and a very healthy and successful asset for the town council. So I've got item number 10 as date and time of next meeting, which will be confirmed. Would this be like a quarterly?
That's what I
Like a quarterly meeting, yes. So if we say that this will be a quarterly meeting, so if you do have any other items that you do wish to be brought up at the next meeting, please put those through to the town clerk so it'll be on the agenda for the next meeting, if that's okay. And so with that, I officially close the meeting, town clerk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for all your input and advice. That's very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening to you.
Have a